Closet, a Todd Mills mystery. Book 1. Author R.D. Zimmerman. Publisher Scribble Pub, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Narrator Eric Aust. Chapter 35. Todd hesitated at the stand of lilac bushes and looked through the branches at the tall Victorian with the burning front porch light. He glanced back at the Cherokee, saw the black figure of Janice, and the tiny glowing orange tip of her cigarette. And then he cut around the end of the lilacs and across an empty lot where a house had undoubtedly once stood. Bending forward slightly, he jogged across the lumpy, uneven ground and hurried for a tree, where he paused and took a semblance of shelter. The lights in the front of the house were lit, as were those in the room with the large bay window. That had to be the dining room, he thought, peering at the curving window that was covered with a light, lacy curtain. He saw a figure move, someone strolling through the room, pausing, then sitting down, but couldn't tell who it was. So how was he going to handle this? He had no idea, really, but his best reporter's instincts kept pulling him forward, urging him to slip through the shadows of the night. He knew that he shouldn't expose himself, not yet anyway. His entire life, of course, had been about maintaining secrecy. From a life of hiding, he had learned the techniques like a master spy. Everyone has a crack. Move forward, find it in the darkness, expose that crack, break the armor, discover the truth. As his feet thumped across the dirt, he peered through the thin, frilly curtains and saw a figure at the dinner table, broad-shouldered, steady. Todd moved closer, still crouched behind a bush. He heard the deep bass of music from within the house. And there was Rawlings, the bastard, sitting at the large table. He was sorting through a stack of papers. Periodically, his hand would reach up and touch something, a calculator. Todd realized, sure, he was tabulating an account of some sort. Money, to be sure. Didn't it always boil down to either money or the passions of love and hate? The now vile memories of the previous night stirred Todd's gut. Rawlings' firm but gentle touch, his deep, earthy scent. His... To hell with the bastard, thought Todd, still shocked that he had been so thoroughly duped. His first instinct was to hurl a rock at the window, charge forward and yell at Rawlings or some such thing, but he had to ascertain where Jeff was in this sprawling house. It wouldn't do to confront Rawlings and then have Jeff spring out of nowhere. God only knew what the two of them were up to. And in any case, in this neighborhood, Jeff was more than likely to have a gun. Perhaps only a purse-sized one, but deadly enough for sure. Still bent over, Todd scurried across the drive, past the dark garage. There was a light on in the back. Jeff had to be back there. The kitchen. It did? Todd crossed into the side yard, paused at a large old fuel tank, a rusty cylinder that smelled of heating oil, and leaned a hand against it. He surveyed the backyard and saw no other houses, only a weedy slope that led down to the railroad tracks. There was no other drive either, which was good. If by chance there was someone else involved, they wouldn't arrive unnoticed. Janice at least would take note. His hand was oily and grimy from leaning against the tank, and he wiped it on his pants. As he trotted toward the corner of the house, reaching the corner of the clapboard structure, he hesitated one more time, listened. Throbbing music still emanated from the house. Todd could hear it seeping from the windows, but no voices. Could Jeff be upstairs? Sure. He could be bathing or changing. Perhaps slipping into some gown or caftan. Todd stepped back a bit and spied the upper windows, which were all dark. Still, Jeff could be in another room up there, perhaps on the far side of the house, or he might yet be in the kitchen. He saw the rear stoop, some 4 steps that led up to a small, enclosed porch, and then the back door. As Todd neared that, he peered through another window and spotted a round fluorescent light attached to the middle of a ceiling. Obviously the kitchen, so Jeff must be back here. And with any luck, the back door would be open. If not, he'd have to go around, try to slip in through the front door, and then locate them both. then corner and confront them. Something like that. And all before 15 minutes expired and Janice made the call. All before Todd got himself killed as well. Hesitating in the dark, Todd studied the kitchen window, saw no movement. From within, silently, Todd moved closer to the stoop, froze, and spied into the kitchen, now clearly seeing a counter and the corner of a stove. A wisp of steam was rising from a kettle. But where was Jeff? Todd climbed up the steps, pressed down on the old handle, pushed open the flimsy door. The back porch. A pair of muddy shoes against one wall. Some empty flower pots next to the shoes, a broom in the corner. Todd took a step, froze when the floorboards creaked. With great care, he moved toward the rear door of the house. A wooden door with a large curtain-covered window, and reached for the brass handle. He twisted the knob, hoping against the improbability of it all, and he caught. Sure, why shouldn't it be locked? Shit, cursed Todd. That meant he'd have to try the front door. Or perhaps the basement windows. Perhaps he'd be able to kick one in, crawl in that way. Then, however, his attention was caught. The window and the door was mostly covered by a red and white checkered curtain, but there was a crack. The two pieces of material didn't quite meet. And Todd leaned forward, peered in. Shit, was that a leg? Hell yes, and an arm. Good God. He pressed against the glass. It was Jeff, lying unconscious in the back hall. So thought Todd, his heart racing with fury. This was all becoming clearer by the moment. Gay Mysteries audiobooks. I think it is easy to hate a label, but a face humanizes the word. So this effort is twofold. To offer comfort to those like myself that your world didn't end because you don't fit into the view of acceptable society on both sides. And in hopes of helping those with family that are LGBTQ, that it doesn't mean we are aliens from the child they once knew. Reassure them so they can maybe be supportive at the same time, being true to their values.